she whispered. She didn't want to be a virgin. And the cowboy locked the door. The desert planet of Arigia stretched endlessly under a burning orange sky. Its red sands rolled like waves, and fierce winds carried tiny grains that stung the skin like needles. Few dared to travel here, and fewer still survived alone. Yet, Lena, a young woman with a small pack of supplies, pressed on, her boots sinking into the hot sand with every step. She had no companion, no shelter, and the sun was beginning to dip behind jagged cliffs in the distance. Her breath came in short bursts as she scanned the horizon. In the distance, a shape rose against the dimming sky, a lone structure surrounded by high fences and strange towers. Relief surged through her chest. Finally, she whispered. Someone. Somewhere to help. The structure was a ranch, but it wasn't like the wooden ones she had read about on old Earth records. This ranch gleamed with polished metal walls, domed roofs, and strange antennae that hummed softly. A windmill-like device spun steadily, drawing energy from the planet's harsh winds. It looked abandoned from afar, but Lena hoped someone lived there. As she approached, a shadow detached itself from the main building. A tall figure in a wide-brimmed hat and a long coat stepped forward. His eyes were sharp, alert, and wary. In his hand, he held a device that looked like a mix between a rifle and a scanner. Lena froze. "Who's there?" the man called, his voice calm but firm. I'm just looking for shelter," Lena said, raising her hands. "I don't want trouble. I don't want to be alone tonight." The man studied her for a long moment. The sun glinted off the metal of his belt, revealing tools and small devices that looked more suited for repairs than for combat. Finally, he spoke. "Name's Jace. You're lucky you found the ranch. Not many survive out here after sunset."
"Please,
Lena nodded quickly.
Safe place."
"I'm
Jace
Lena."
sighed and walked toward the gate, pressing a button on a small console. With a soft click, the tall, heavy door slid open. "Come in." "Quickly," he said, scanning the horizon again. "The storms start at dusk, and the desert isn't forgiving." Once inside, Lena noticed the ranch was surprisingly large. The main hall had a warm glow from hanging lamps powered by solar panels outside. Strange panels and screens lined the walls, showing maps of the desert and weather patterns. Small robotic drones zipped quietly, dusting the floor and repairing minor damages. Lena felt a mix of awe and relief. This is amazing," she said. Jace gave a small shrug. "It keeps people alive. That's all that matters." He paused and looked at her seriously. "The desert isn't kind to strangers. You said you didn't want to be alone. I meant it. You won't be, at least for tonight." Without another word, he pressed a button near the door. A soft, metallic click echoed through the hall. "I locked it," he said. "No one gets in or out until the storm passes. Don't worry, it's for your safety." Lena's heart skipped a beat. The locked door felt both strange and comforting. She realized that Jace didn't just want to shelter her. He wanted to protect her. "I thank you," she whispered. Jace nodded and turned toward a small table stacked with food rations and water. "Eat, drink. You'll need energy for the night. The wind can take even the strongest people if they aren't careful." Lena followed him, marveling at the ranch's technology. Tiny drones hovered over her shoulder, cleaning the table and setting out plates with perfect precision. She had never seen anything like it. As she ate, she asked cautiously, "Do you live here alone?" Jace glanced at her, eyes narrowing slightly. "I do. Ranching out here isn't easy. You need to be self-sufficient, but I like it that way. The desert teaches you things no city ever can." Lena nodded.
trying to hide her curiosity. She felt drawn to Jace's calm confidence. Even in this harsh environment, he seemed unshakable. After finishing her meal, Lena followed Jace to a small room at the back of the ranch. A comfortable cot, soft blankets, and a small window overlooking the desert made it clear that he had prepared for guests before. She paused at the doorway. I never expected anyone to be this kind, she admitted. Jace leaned against the doorframe. Kindness is survival. People who help each other live longer out here. You'll learn that. Lena smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in days. But as she lay on the cot, she couldn't shake the feeling that something waited outside, beyond the fences, beyond the glowing horizon. The desert had a way of testing people, she thought, and she was grateful she wasn't facing it alone. Hours passed. The sun disappeared completely, leaving the planet bathed in cold, silver moonlight. The wind picked up, howling through the dunes. Lena shivered under the blankets. She heard the faint hum of the ranch's energy shields activating, a protective barrier shimmering faintly in the night. She realized how truly vulnerable she would have been outside, alone. Jace walked quietly into the room, holding a small lantern. "Sleep if you can," he said softly. "The desert night is long, but it's safer than you think inside." Lena watched him go and thought about how strange it was to feel so safe with a man she had just met. The locked door, the humming shields, the drones, all of it formed a barrier between her and the dangers outside, but also between her and the freedom she had known. And yet, she didn't mind. As she drifted to sleep, Lena whispered to herself, maybe being here isn't just about safety. Maybe it's the start of something new. Outside, the wind continued to howl. The desert stretched endlessly, fierce and unforgiving. But inside the ranch, a small light glowed steadily, a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and the quiet strength of humans. Somewhere in the desert, unseen eyes watched. But for now, Lena and Jace were safe. And in a world that often tested humans beyond measure, their courage and quick thinking were already proving stronger than any storm or sand dune. For the first time in days, Lena felt a strange sense of peace. Tomorrow, the desert would call again. Tomorrow, she would face new challenges. But tonight, she wasn't alone. And sometimes, that was enough. Morning light spilled into the ranch, painting the walls in gold and orange. Outside, the desert was calm, almost peaceful, a stark contrast to the violent winds of last night. Lena woke to the soft hum of machines and the faint clinking of tools. She rubbed her eyes, stretching as the warmth of the sun filtered through the small window. Jace was already awake. He moved quietly through the main hall, checking screens and adjusting dials. The ranch, though isolated, was alive with activity. Tiny drones zipped through the air, repairing minor scratches on metal surfaces and cleaning debris that had settled overnight. Lena watched silently, amazed at the efficiency of the place. "You're awake," Jay said without turning. His voice was calm, steady. "Good. I've got work to do outside, but you're welcome to explore the ranch, if you're careful." Lena nodded. She hesitated, unsure where to start, then glanced at the hallways branching off from the main room. One path led to a series of rooms, and another descended to a lower level. Curiosity pricked at her. "Can I see more of the place?" she asked. Jace finally turned to face her. "Fine. Stay within these walls. Everything beyond them isn't safe for someone who hasn't spent years surviving Iridia's deserts." Lena followed him silently as he led her to the control room, a large space filled with glowing screens, maps, and blinking lights. The room smelled faintly of metal and oil, but it felt secure.
This is the heart of the ranch, Jace explained. Everything runs through here. Power, communications, weather monitoring, even defense systems if needed. He tapped a screen, and a map of the surrounding desert appeared, dotted with blinking points. Those are settlements. Some are old, some new. Few have people left, and fewer can survive without help. Lena leaned closer, fascinated. You're like a guardian of the desert. Jace chuckled softly. I suppose, but mostly I just make sure people can stay alive long enough to get help. Her eyes scanned the map. She noticed a blinking point not far from the ranch. It pulsed faintly, almost like it was calling out. "What's that one?" she asked. Jace's eyes flickered. He didn't answer immediately, instead pressing a few buttons on the console. The blinking stopped for a moment and then resumed. That's a settlement that hasn't checked in for a while. Something might be wrong there. Lena felt a sudden thrill of concern. Do you think people are in danger? Jace's gaze softened slightly. Maybe. We'll know soon enough. But first, he walked toward a door that led to a storage area. You should see how the ranch works up close. It's not all screens and buttons. There's a lot of manual work, too. The storage room was filled with crates, tools, and strange machines Lena had never seen before. Some crates were labeled with symbols she didn't recognize, and small drones hovered over the stacks, sorting supplies with precision. These drones help with everything, Jay said, picking up a small device. Repairs, cleaning, even helping me track weather patterns. Humans might be adaptable, but machines make life out here easier. Lena picked up one of the drones as it hovered near her. It beeped softly and then zipped back into the air. It's amazing, she said. I've never seen anything like this before. Jace smiled faintly. Technology is helpful, but it's nothing without people who know how to use it. You'll see. Humans can do things machines can't. They can think, feel, and adapt. That's why we survive. Her curiosity piqued. Lena wandered toward a section of the storage room that seemed older, more worn. She found shelves stacked with journals, maps, and old tools. One journal had a faded cover with the words, "Desert Logs," written on it. She opened it carefully and began reading. The pages told stories of travelers, lost settlements, and dangerous wildlife. It described how humans had adapted to the harsh desert over decades, building shelters, harvesting water, and even training animals to help with survival. Lena's eyes widened. Humans truly were remarkable. Those are my notes, Jay said quietly, standing behind her. I keep track of everything I learn about the desert, weather patterns, sandstorms, even animal behavior. If you understand the desert, you survive. If you ignore it, you don't. Lena nodded, feeling a deep respect for the man. His life was lonely, yes, but he had purpose. He wasn't just surviving. He was helping others survive too. Suddenly, the ranch's communication panel beeped loudly, drawing their attention. A faint signal was coming from the settlement Lena had noticed earlier. Jace tapped a few buttons, enhancing the signal. The display flickered, showing a small holographic outline of a structure partially buried in sand. They're in trouble, Jace said, his voice firm. Looks like the settlement's energy shields are failing. If the storm hits before we get there, they won't survive. Lena felt a surge of determination. Can I help? She asked. Jace studied her for a moment. You sure? The desert isn't forgiving? One wrong step and he trailed off, but his meaning was clear. I'm sure, Lena said. I don't want to sit here while people need help. Jace hesitated, then nodded. All right, but you need to follow instructions exactly. One mistake, and it could be dangerous. They spent the next hour preparing. Lena learned how to operate some of the smaller drones, checked supplies, and studied the maps carefully. She discovered that Jace's ranch wasn't just a home. It was a hub of intelligence, monitoring, and rescue operations. She marveled at how much thought he had put into every detail. When they finally stepped outside, the desert sun was high. The air was hot, and the sand glimmered like tiny diamonds under the light. Jace led Lena to a pair of hover bikes parked behind the ranch. The bikes were sleek, metallic, and capable of gliding over the dunes with ease. "Strap in," Jace said, helping Lena onto one of the bikes. "We move fast and the terrain isn't forgiving." As they sped across the desert, Lena held on tightly. The wind whipped against her face, the sand flying in all directions. But beneath the fear, she felt a rush of excitement. She was part of something important, something bigger than herself. After some time, the settlement appeared in the distance. It was small, mostly buried in sand, and clearly struggling. The faint glow of failing energy shields flickered weakly. "Ah, there," Jace said, pointing. "They need us now." They landed and dismounted carefully. Lena watched as Jace activated a portable shield generator, extending a protective dome over the settlement. Robots that had been malfunctioning in the sand suddenly powered down under the shield, unable to interfere. "Now," Jace said, "we move in and help the people inside." Together, they entered the settlement. Lena felt her heart race. She had never been on a real rescue mission before, and the thrill of helping others made her pulse quicken. Humans, she realized, weren't just survivors. They were problem solvers, innovators, and protectors. Machines were helpful, but it was human courage and creativity that made the real difference. As they worked together, Lena and Jace repaired damaged shields, guided the settlers to safety, and used drones to clear debris. The settlement slowly became stable and the people inside began to relax. Lena smiled, realizing that this was why Jace stayed in the desert, not for solitude, but to help others survive where machines and luck alone couldn't. When the work was done, Lena and Jace stepped outside, looking at the desert horizon. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows over the dunes. The settlement was safe, at least for now. "You did well," Jace said quietly, glancing at her. "You're brave and smart. That's why humans survive out here." Lena felt a warmth in her chest. "Thank you for letting me help. I feel like I belong here, even if just a little." Jace smiled faintly. "You do, but remember, the desert is always testing us. You never stop learning, never stop adapting. That's what makes humans stronger than anything out here." As they prepared to return to the ranch, Lena realized something important. She wasn't just a guest anymore. She was part of a team, part of a human story of survival and courage. And in this vast, harsh desert, that was something worth fighting for. The desert stretched endlessly, a sea of red sand under the harsh light of Iridia's twin suns. Lena sat on the hoverbike behind Jace, gripping the sides tightly. The wind whipped her hair across her face, and the sand sometimes stung like tiny needles. But beneath the fear, a sense of determination burned in her chest. She had faced her first rescue mission yesterday, and now she was ready for the next challenge. Jace's eyes scanned the horizon constantly. He didn't speak much, but Lena could tell that he noticed everything. The subtle dips in the sand, the faint glimmers of heat, and the strange, almost hidden movements in the distance. Lena had never seen someone so aware of their surroundings. It was a skill honed from years of surviving in a harsh world where one wrong step could be fatal. "You're quiet," Jace finally said, glancing back at her. "Thinking about what's ahead?" Lena nodded. "I'm just trying to keep up." "You will," he said simply. "You humans are resilient. You learn fast when you have to." Resilient, the word echoed in Lena's mind. She had always believed it, but now she was seeing it in action. Humans weren't just survivors. They were problem solvers. Every challenge, every risk was a chance to adapt and overcome. As they traveled, the desert began to change. The dunes grew higher, the sand coarser, and strange rock formations jutted out like jagged teeth. Lena noticed small creatures scuttling in the shadows, some natural, some clearly robotic. The rogue machines that had terrorized settlements were still out here, somewhere, and the thought made her stomach tighten. "Stay close," Jace said. "We don't know what's out there." Hours passed. The hoverbikes glided over sand and rock, engines humming softly. Lena began to notice the subtle patterns in the desert, the way the wind shaped the dunes, the way shadows moved with the sun, and the faint signs of other travelers who had passed this way. She realized that the desert wasn't just dangerous, it was a teacher. If you watched closely, it gave you clues. Finally, they reached the settlement that had sent the faint signal. From a distance, Lena could see the small cluster of buildings partially buried in sand. The energy shields were weak, flickering under the harsh sunlight, and several robotic drones patrolled the area erratically. "They're in trouble," Jace said, his voice calm but urgent. "Let's move carefully." They landed the hoverbikes on a flat area just outside the settlement. Lena followed Jace as he activated a portable shield generator, sending a shimmering dome over the buildings. The drones immediately malfunctioned under the shield, unable to reach the humans inside. Lena took a deep breath. "Now what?" "We helped them get to safety," Jace said. "And we fixed the shield so they can survive the storm that's coming." Inside the settlement, Lena saw families huddled together, eyes wide with fear. Some were injured, others weak from hunger and exposure. Lena's heart ached, but she pushed her emotions aside. Humans were adaptable, and she was going to prove that today. Jace handed her a small toolkit. "Start here," he said, pointing to a damaged generator. "Follow the instructions exactly." Lena knelt and began working, following Jace's guidance. She learned quickly, connecting wires, adjusting panels, and stabilizing the power flow. The generator hummed to life, and the shield flickered, then strengthened. "Good," Jace said, nodding. "Now help the children and elders to the safe zones." Lena guided them, using her small size to move through tight spaces and reassure them. She realized that empathy was as important as skill. Human creativity and courage went hand in hand. Even machines couldn't replace the way humans could comfort and guide each other. As the day progressed, the settlement began to stabilize. Lena and Jace worked together seamlessly, repairing broken walls, rerouting power, and ensuring that everyone had water and food. Lena noticed how Jace trusted her now. He didn't micromanage. He let her take initiative. Suddenly, a faint rumble shook the ground. Lena looked up to see dark clouds forming on the horizon. A sandstorm was coming, faster than she expected. "We need to finish quickly," Jace said. "If that storm hits before we're done, everyone could be trapped." Lena's heart pounded. The storm was massive, swirling with debris and sand that could rip through anything unprotected. But she didn't hesitate. Humans had a way of finding solutions when there seemed to be none. Working together, they completed the final repairs just as the first winds of the storm hit. The shield generator glowed brightly, holding firm against the onslaught. Lena guided the people inside, making sure everyone was safe. "Everyone, stay low!" Jace shouted over the roar. The sandstorm battered the settlement, but the humans inside were protected by their ingenuity and courage. Lena felt a surge of pride. She was witnessing the power of humans when they worked together, adapting and protecting each other in ways machines alone could not. After what felt like hours, the storm began to subside. The settlement was battered but intact. The people cheered softly, relief washing over them. Lena wiped sweat and dust from her face, her body exhausted but her spirit soaring. Jace clapped her on the shoulder. "You did well," he said. "Brave, clever, and quick. You're learning what humans are capable of." Lena smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment she had never known before. I couldn't have done it without you." "No," Jace said, shaking his head. "You could have. You just needed the chance to see it. Humans survive because we adapt, think, and care, not just for ourselves, but for each other." As they prepared to return to the ranch, Lena looked out at the desert. The storm had changed the landscape. Dunes shifted, rocks exposed, and new patterns in the sand emerged. She realized that the desert was alive in its own way, constantly testing humans, teaching them, shaping them, and humans in turn adapted and thrived. The ride back to the ranch was quieter, the wind calmer, the desert still and serene. Lena reflected on everything she had learned: courage, teamwork, empathy, and the unbreakable human spirit. She understood now why Jace had chosen to live here, why he had devoted his life to protecting others. Humans were remarkable. They could face anything, survive anything, and rise stronger every time. By the time they reached the ranch, the sun was low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the dunes. Lena felt tired, but her heart was full. She had faced the desert, helped save a settlement, and discovered something vital about herself and humanity: the ability to adapt, create, and protect. As Jace locked the ranch door behind them, Lena whispered softly, "I think I understand now. Being human, it's more than surviving. It's about helping, learning, and never giving up." Jace didn't respond immediately. He simply looked at her with a faint smile, as if approving her realization. Then he turned to check the drones and systems, leaving Lena to reflect on the day's events. For the first time, Lena felt that she belonged. Not just in the ranch, not just on this desert planet, but in the grand story of humans rising to challenges, overcoming obstacles, and proving that courage and ingenuity could triumph over even the harshest conditions. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the desert grew calm again. The sand shimmered in the soft twilight, and the ranch glowed warmly against the vast wilderness. Lena lay on the cot that night, exhausted but exhilarated, thinking about tomorrow. She knew the desert would call again, that new challenges awaited, but she felt ready. Humans could survive anything, and Lena was living proof. The desert had calmed, but the remnants of yesterday's storm still hung in the air. Sand coated the ground, rocks glimmered with dust, and the horizon seemed endless. Lena stretched her arms, still feeling the soreness from hours of work at the settlement. Every muscle in her body ached, but she felt alive in a way she had never felt before. She was learning, adapting, surviving. Jace emerged from the control room, carrying a small tablet and a bundle of equipment. His eyes scanned the horizon. "Another settlement is nearby," he said, pointing to a faint green glow on the map. "They aren't far, but the storm damaged their defenses. We need to act fast if we want to protect them." Lena felt her heart quicken. "Another one? Are you sure we can do it?" Jace's face was serious. "We don't have a choice. They'll be in trouble by nightfall, but if we plan carefully, we can help them." Together, they prepared the hoverbikes. Lena checked the shields, fuel levels, and supplies, her hands moving automatically over the controls. Jace watched her, impressed by how quickly she had learned. Humans could adapt faster than any machine, he thought, especially when they had a reason to survive. As they rode toward the new settlement, Lena noticed how much she had changed. The desert was still dangerous, still unpredictable, but she felt confident. She knew how to read the land, how to watch for dangers, and how to make decisions quickly. Humans had a way of thinking, improvising, and solving problems that no machine could match. The settlement came into view. It was smaller than the last one, mostly made of metal and old wood, with families huddled near damaged walls. Several drones, likely damaged by the storm, were wandering in circles, scanning for signs of life. Lena's stomach tightened. The children and elders looked frightened, unsure of what to do. "Stay close," Jay said. "We'll get them safe first." They worked together, Lena guiding people into a cleared area, while Jay set up a temporary shield generator. The dome shimmered into existence, casting a protective bubble over the settlement. The rogue drones malfunctioned again, harmless under the shield. Lena noticed a young boy hiding behind a wall, clutching a small toy. She crouched down and smiled gently. "It's okay," she said. "You're safe now. Come on, we'll get you to your family." The boy's eyes were wide, but he trusted her. Lena held out her hand, and he took it slowly. As they walked, Lena felt a warmth in her chest. Humans weren't just survivors, they were protectors, capable of kindness, courage, and quick thinking. That was why they thrived in this desert, why settlements like these could still exist, despite harsh conditions. Jace worked alongside her, guiding older settlers, repairing damaged walls, and rerouting power from the main generator to ensure the shield stayed strong. Lena watched him for a moment, realizing something important. He wasn't just strong, he was patient, clever, and willing to teach others. That was the true strength of humans, sharing knowledge and skills so that everyone could survive. As the sun climbed higher, a new challenge appeared. The malfunctioning drones had regrouped, forming a small swarm near the edge of the shield. Lena's heart raced. They weren't aggressive yet, but they could harm someone if they got inside the dome. "Quick thinking," Jay said, noticing her worry. "We'll need to distract them and fix their navigation." "You can do it." Lena nodded and ran to a nearby console. Following the instructions Jace had taught her, she adjusted the drone's signals, causing them to circle away from the settlement. It worked. The swarm moved in a controlled pattern, confused but harmless. Lena felt a surge of pride. Her decisions, her actions, had saved people. But the day wasn't over. A low rumble reached their ears. Lena looked up to see dark clouds forming in the distance. Another storm, bigger than the last, was approaching quickly. The wind picked up, and sand began to swirl violently.
"We need to protect everyone now," Jace said.
"Move people to the shielded area, secure the generator, and get ready to reinforce the dome." Lena ran, guiding settlers into the dome while Jace adjusted the shields. The wind roared, sand striking the metal walls with force, but the human-made dome held strong. Lena felt exhilarated. This was survival, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. Humans could endure, adapt, and innovate in ways that machines could never fully replicate. Hours passed. The storm battered the settlement, but Lena and Jace worked tirelessly. They patched holes, adjusted shields, and comforted frightened families. Lena discovered how capable she truly was, her hands steady even in chaos, her mind sharp, her heart full of courage. Finally, the storm began to subside. The settlement had survived. Families hugged each other, relief washing over them. Lena and Jace stepped outside, exhausted but triumphant. "You did incredibly well," Jace said, clapping her on the shoulder. "Brave, smart, and adaptable. Humans survive because they think, they care, and they never give up." Lena smiled, feeling a warmth she had never known. I feel like I'm part of something bigger now. Like this desert, it's teaching us how strong we really are. Jace nodded. Exactly. Humans aren't just survivors. They're protectors, builders, thinkers, and you've learned that today. As they prepared to return to the ranch, Lena looked out at the desert. The landscape had changed from the storm, the dunes were reshaped, rocks shifted, and new patterns emerged. The desert was alive, constantly challenging humans, testing their ingenuity and courage. And yet, humans adapted. They thrived. They survived. The ride back was quiet. Lena's thoughts were filled with everything she had learned: bravery, teamwork, empathy, and human ingenuity. She realized that humans weren't just living, they were making a difference, protecting others, and proving that no challenge was too great. By the time they reached the ranch, the sun was low on the horizon. Lena felt tired, every muscle aching, but her spirits soared. She had faced storms, saved settlements, and discovered the true strength of humans. Jace opened the ranch door and gestured for her to enter. Lena stepped inside, breathing in the calm and warmth of the familiar space. She knew tomorrow would bring new challenges, new storms, and new opportunities to learn. For now, though, she allowed herself a moment of peace. She had survived, she had adapted, and she had proven herself. And in a harsh world like Iridia, that was something worth celebrating. As night fell over the desert, Lena lay on her cot, exhausted but exhilarated. She thought about the people she had helped, the storms she had faced, and the lessons she had learned. Humans could endure anything, adapt to any challenge, and rise stronger every time. And Lena knew, deep in her heart, that she was ready for whatever came next.